Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming today and being here and creating this classroom space all together. This is Brain Northwest's educational programming, and today we have Karen Sumption as our teacher and guide in this topic, Easier on Purpose, Neurodivergent Life Hacks for Living with a Brain Injury. I'm grateful that each of you is here. I love that I get to learn along with you. And we are fortunate to have Karen. She has a lot of life experience supporting and working with people that have brain injuries and traumatic brain injuries and acquired brain injuries, as well as working as a certified victim advocate and a certified health worker and also a certified peer counselor. So really working with a lot of people in some really important and sometimes challenging spaces. So I'm grateful that you're here, Karen. It's always a treat. And I am here to support in the chat and with anything else. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, Reggie. Hi, everybody. I see some familiar faces. If this is your first time, welcome. My name's Karen Sumption. Reggie did a better job of introducing me than I possibly could. Um, this this month's presentation is pretty close to my heart because it's about the intersection of neurodivergence and acquired or traumatic brain injury. I myself am autistic and work a lot with people with ABI and TBIs. And in fact, there's a lot of early work being done to integrate folks with brain injury into the neurodivergence community because we all fit under the same umbrella. Neurodivergence basically means that in some way, the way our brains process information, planning, emotions, and stimuli, so things that come in through our senses, are a little bit different than the quote unquote rest of the population or folks who are on the spectrum of being further away from neurodivergence. It's kind of an arbitrary marker, but that's kind of where neurodivergence in general has planted the flag. Traditionally, neurodivergence has referred to folks with autism and folks with ADHD. It has expanded to people with apraxia, people who hear voices, all kinds of folks that have brains that process and have us move through the world a little bit differently. But for this presentation, and folks with brain injury can also have both. You can be entering into the space after a brain injury, already living well in the neurodivergent space. And so you got an extra helping. Um, and for this, what I did was really kind of look at the things that we all have in common in neurodivergence, as different as we all are, and as different as a lot of, and I don't like to call them conditions because that sort of medicalizes a lot of what probably shouldn't be medicalized, but a lot of different flavors of neurodivergence. There are some very, very important and big ways in which we overlap. And because there have been folks that have been walking this path for longer, I wanted to kind of dive in and pull out some of the gems that they've discovered the hard way to maybe make some suggestions for you to try so you don't have to you don't have to go to the hard knocks college to figure some of this out. So I apologize. I say this every class. My slides tend to be very, very text heavy. But don't worry, I do make them available. as a PDF afterwards. And also, I just wanted to mention while I'm presenting, I'm going to go off video. You are also welcome to go off video if you would like, and then I'll come back on video for questions and discussion. So as I was saying, there's some definite there's some commonalities that we share. And the big one that folks talk about over and over and over is that folks with neurodivergence, whether that's because of autism or an acquired or traumatic brain injury, is executive function. And that's the one that folks feel like they struggle with the most. Executive function is everything in our brains that allows us to be goal directed. So it's being able to regulate our thoughts, our actions, and our emotions, um, cognitive control. And it involves a lot of stuff. I kind of had the big three there, which is working memory. It's our ability to hang on to important information for a relatively short amount of time. Cognitive flexibility, which is our ability to adapt when something changes, when things go off the rails or change or become unexpected, how we can adjust to that. And then inhibitory control, which is our capacity to regulate our emotions and behaviors. So have self-control and avoid distractions. There's other pieces in executive function. There's time blindness, which means we just have no idea how much time something takes or how much time has passed. I've kind of tucked them into some other buckets. Because essentially what I wanted to get across is executive function is what lets us make plans and follow through with those plans. So whether that's a big goal, like I want to learn Spanish, or I need to go to the grocery store and I need to buy these three items, it's executive function that allows us to be able to do that. Or throws up a whole lot of barriers to making things that feel like they should be really doable, really achievable, and really simple, really overwhelming and complicated. So I wanted to illustrate executive function in a couple of different ways. This wheel, I realize, is maybe not as easy to read on the screen, but it breaks down what those three buckets that I was talking. I just sort of chose the three buckets, but there's a whole bunch of other pieces, right? Task initiation, which is getting started on something. Organization, which is, keeping track of your stuff and time. Um, being able to, timekeeping, I said time blindness, being able to, know how much time a task takes, or that getting lost in a task and not realizing how much time has passed. And also just being aware of how you're doing in the moment is also part of executive function. And I want to expand that a little bit more. That's not just being able to identify your feelings and your needs in that moment, but also identify what your body is doing. Because that's also a part of executive function. When we talk to professionals, whether they're physicians or therapists or folks in the mental health space, oh, did I take that out? Yeah, I did. Okay, it was later. Sorry. Here, I'm going to skip forward because this is what they think about. This is how they think about executive function. So it's difficulties with motivation and organization, rigid thinking. And I say this is this is the way folks talk in the clinical space because it's not really exactly what I feel like is going on, right? Because poor problem solving, I don't necessarily think that our problem solving is poor if we're struggling with our executive function. It's that we're not able to access all of the different components that allow us to make good decisions. So poor problem solving feels a little judgy to me. And same with impulsivity. Um, Impulsivity makes it sound like we just, throw caution to the wind and just do stuff without thinking. And sometimes we do. We act too quickly or we don't think through an action to its consequences before we do it. But again, impulsivity feels a little bit judgy because, again, it's about struggling with all of these other pieces of executive function that if we were able to have support around, we probably wouldn't make those same decisions. Mood disturbances, the same thing. Some of executive function, as I mentioned, has to do with being able to manage and name your emotions. So it's not necessarily that our mood is disturbed. It's knowing what's going on with your feelings and your body and being able to identify that. Know when you're getting to do too much and know when you need to rest or when you need to eat or when you need to drink water or when you need to go to the bathroom is kind of built a lot into mood disturbances. But difficulties in social situations, yeah, I mean, it can be really executive function struggles can make it hard to be able to feel like you're engaging naturally in social situations. And memory attention problems. Yeah, I'll give it to them on that. But what I wanted to do was if this is sort of the way clinicians tend to think about executive function, I wanted to talk about how it can actually feel to us. So, executive function struggles when you have neurodiversity can feel like a simple task like returning a call feels absolutely 100% impossible, insurmountable, like climbing a mountain, even though you know it takes 5 minutes. You know how to operate a phone. You have made a million phone calls in your life, but having a phone call on your to-do list and struggling with executive function can make that feel impossible. This is something I personally struggle with. And not all of these, by the way, are going to apply to you, right? But this is ways in which it can feel when it manifests. I struggle with this one. I have an appointment at 2 p.m. I wake up at 8 a.m. and I can't do anything except wait for that appointment. That is what I can't relax. I can't start another task. I can't distract myself. I wait until I've got that appointment. Being interrupted means you can't get back to what you were doing before the interruption. Like you just can't pick that thread back up. No matter how intently you were focused, no matter how much you were interested in what you were doing before you were interrupted, getting back to that flow is just, if you can do it at all, feels incredibly difficult. Being immediately overwhelmed by something that you know other people think are easy is easy, like doing laundry, because you literally don't know how or where to begin. You know how to do it, but attacking the task and beginning, you just don't even know where to start. And so you struggle with starting and a lot of times just don't do it. Having no sense of whether you just spent 5 or 50 minutes on something unless you look at a clock. Getting extremely now this is frustrating to every human on earth, right? Getting extremely frustrated when plans change, maybe not extremely frustrated, but people get frustrated. But this tends to hit us when we're neurodiverse, when something external prevents us from accomplishing something. So we have everything in a row to get it done. We start the task, and there's something else that's not in our control that's blocking our progress. Like I said, frustrating to everybody. This feels absolutely insurmountable because now we have a barrier and we have to contend with, can we work around that barrier? What do we do now? And oftentimes it just means the task stops, like our progress on it stops. Not realizing you were doing something with your body or your facial expression and or accidentally offending or amusing people. Yeah. That is something that happens a lot with neurodiversity. And that can be really, really cutting, hurtful. And folks don't realize it. Flip-flopping between emotions quickly and not being able to identify or explain why in a way that makes sense to other people. I can get really, really cranky because suddenly I feel a seam on my socks and I can't stop feeling the seam on my socks. The seam on my socks is not necessarily the problem. I can't necessarily identify why my mood has changed. That is part of why my mood has changed. It's not the whole thing, but that's what I have to explain to people, and it doesn't seem to make sense to other folks outside my head. Shutting down entirely when you don't know what to do next and struggling hard to initiate a task. Or feeling extremely, and I mean out of proportion levels, overwhelmed. And I mean out of proportion to folks without neurodiversity when you're forced to multitask or switch tasks without a segue. So that's how it can feel. It may feel different. You may feel one of these and not the rest. You may have experience with all of them, but these are ways in which struggling with executive function manifests in everyday life. Now I'm going to go back a little bit. Executive function is controlled by the frontal lobes. So the causes of executive function are different depending on the kind of neurodiversity or neurodiversities that you have, but it's common with up to 85% of folks who have some diagnosis of some type of neurodiversity reporting that they struggle with memory, planning, task switching, motivation, and mood. And personally, I think the 15% that are not reporting it are trying to be polite. With acquired or traumatic brain injuries, executive function can also be caused by either the primary or secondary injury. Your frontal lobe is a lot of real estate in your head. So, and it's up and center in the in the top and front, and it is the location of a lot of injury. And if that is not the location of your injury, the secondary reactions that your body has, inflammation, swelling, things like that, can also cause an injury to your frontal lobes. And the frontal lobes do a lot of heavy lifting. So here's our brain, right? So the frontal lobe, executive function, thinking, planning, problem solving. I mean, and the temporal lobe, memory, understanding, language, sensations. These are the top inside of the brain where injuries can easily happen, and having a lot of real estate, having that more like most likely be the site of a primary or secondary injury means that of course we're going to struggle with stuff like this. So what I did is, like I said, I talked to folks in the neurodiversity community and asked them what works. And of course, when you see hacks for executive dysfunction, you're always going to see the same couple of things, right? You're always going to see keep a day planner, right? Write it down, keep it up to date with your all of your tasks. Keep all everything you need to do in one place and write it down. Don't try to hold it in your head. The other thing, the other piece, and these are great advice, don't get me wrong, right? These are great. Set alarms for tasks that you need to do right routinely, right? You need to walk the dog. Set times that you're gonna walk the dog. The alarm goes off. It's time to walk the dog. Auto pay recurring bills. Now we live in the world where that is possible with almost everything. Set it and forget it. You're good, right? Now you're not forgetting to pay bills or you're not sure if you paid bills. And sticky notes everywhere, right? These are the ones that you hear all the time. And like I said, these are great. There's nothing wrong with these, but I tried to dig a little bit deeper and find stuff that can either supplement these sort of big, the big good advice, or customize it. And again, as we go through this, not everything is going to work for you. Not, and some of these, in fact, you may know right away, that is not going to work for me. That is totally fine. Some of these you may not know if they work for you. And so you should potentially consider running an experiment. Okay. Some of these aren't going to be interesting to you because they're not things that you struggle with. But I tried to find stuff that was beyond the sticky note, day planner, alarm sort of triad. And I started with organizing and cleaning because that's always a sore spot for a lot of folks. Um, Organizing and cleaning is if you didn't have any neurodiversity, if you were not on the spectrum before your injury and you were somebody who cleaned really well, and this can especially be a sore spot. But when I talk to folks who struggle with this, the first one that I came across was people are like, stop fighting it. Stop fighting it. So, where you put things naturally, make that the spot. So, if you always take off your jacket in the living room when you first come in, and you're supposed to hang your jacket in your bedroom, but you never just get a hook for the living room. That's where your jacket lives now. That's it. You know, if you take your shoes off when you first come in the door and you keep your shoes again in your bedroom closet and get a shoe rack or just a little mat, that's where shoes live. Stop fighting your natural inclinations, right? Baskets and containers. So, a lot of times with neurodiversity, we also have stuff blindness. Like we forget what we have if it's not right in front of us, or we forget what we're doing if we get up from a task and we don't come back and it's still there. That's normal. But if you live with other folks or you don't, and that kind of nesting around you bugs you, baskets and containers, you just put your nest in the basket and suddenly it doesn't look cluttered. Establish a drop zone. So this is a little bit like number one, right? Following your flow. Where you put things is where they should go. Have whether it's a bowl or a hook or a table or something, that's where you put the stuff that you need for your day, right? That's where your keys go, that's where your purse or your wallet goes, that's where, right, anything that you need to take with you when you leave the house, the glasses you need for driving. That's where they live, and they all live together. And that's where you drop them when you come in. That's where you put your purse, or that's where you empty your wallet, empty your pockets. So you don't have to worry about, well, where's this, where's that, where just make a drop zone. Um, this one is one actually I'm going to adopt, which is get multiples of things. And I used lip balm in this example because that's my personal issue. I'm forever losing my lip balm because, yep, I try to keep one lip balm with me at all times. So, no, have a desk lip balm, a car lip balm, a bed lip balm, instead of just one that I'm going to constantly lose. So when I first thought about it, I thought, well, I'm going to spend a lot of money on multiples. And then I realized I'm spending money on multiples anyway because I'm continually losing the thing that I only have one of and having to replace it. This one I love. Folding, hanging is not the law. I don't know how we all think that that is the only way to put clothes away, but it's not, right? I love this. Clothes can be stacked in crates. If you have a chair, that's your clothing chair. We all got this message that clothes have to be folded and clothes have to be hung, and it's just, y'all, it's just not true. And that kind of also goes hand in hand with the next one, which felt really naughty when I wrote it, which is run the dishwasher twice. If dishes are a problem, that's okay. Do a really terrible job of rinsing your dishes, put them in the dishwasher and run it twice. If you feel really guilty about it, then just, make up for the water waste in another way. But we can do that. Or use paper plates, right? Paper plates compost if you feel bad about making more garbage. But you don't have to do things the way we've been taught to do things is not the only way, and it's not the only correct way. The correct way is the way that works and keeps your environment safe and clean and keeps you from feeling constantly bad about yourself. Use a label maker. So again, some of you nodded. I saw when I said about nesting. If it's not in front of you, you don't remember what you have. If you have drawers or things like that, you can make a label. That's where the tape is. There are a lot of cleaning ones, y'all. So go with one category at a time. So you're cleaning your house. It's today is Thursday. I am gonna walk through every room and I am just gonna pick up trash that's on counters or just things that need to get thrown away, and that's what I'm doing today. Tomorrow, I will just do one thing at a time. When you go to clean a space, you don't have to clean a space top to bottom all at once. This was a big one. This one takes a little bit of commitment and lifestyle change, but declutter. For real. If you don't remember you have it, you probably don't need it. Most of us own too much stuff. And we live in a culture that rewards too much stuff. And we all, I see it. You are not alone. You're not alone. Too much stuff. We all own too much stuff. And that's normal, but the less stuff we have, the less we have to clean and the less we have to track. So, but that's a commitment. So, just know that one. I like this idea too. Do the gross when you're gross. So you're going to take a shower anyway. So clean the toilet and sink and then take your shower because you're going to be gross anyway. Or that's when I'm gonna take a bath, so I'm gonna take out the kitchen trash. So do gross when you're gross. Multi-purpose cleaners like Clorox wipes that work for many areas instead of specialized products. If you have specialized, this is for windows and this is for that. Yep, yep. This is for that and this is it gets to be too much. Um, if you have the capacity, cordless, I heard many, many, many recommendations for cordless vacuums just to make it easier in terms of movement, right? And if you also have the capacity, people spoke very highly of the robot vacuums that just, zoom around. Do half. You don't have to unload the whole dishwasher. You don't have to do all the laundry if you just can't. Some's better than none. This is another rule. Like we all were to like if you're gonna load or unload the dishwasher, you do the whole thing, right? Or don't do it at all. No, half is better than none, right? So you do half your laundry today, and then you do half laundry later, and that's fine. This kind of goes with the one category at a time. Just clean one thing. Today is the kitchen counter. Tomorrow is the bathroom mirror. Just one thing, one thing. Again, it's cumulative, right? And redefine organized. If you know where to find something already, it's organized, right? Kind of circling back to go with your flow. Don't reorganize what already works just because you feel like you're supposed to. Planning and achieving goals. This one is yes, make your to-do lists, but I really like this. I thought this was really obvious and really creative. You make your to-do lists, sure, but then group them by how much time it's going to take and how hard it is. Right? Because there's tasks that are easy and take 5 minutes, and we all have time. Like we all have times during our day where executive function struggle or not. We're like, I could do that, and you do it, right? But what I liked was for the task initiation, like I don't know what to start. My to-do list is huge. It's overwhelming. Was number the lists. So just randomly number them, and you have the time and energy for a task, and you can't pick one, roll some dice. And if you don't have dice, there's number generators online. And oh, okay, is there number eight? What's number eight on the list? That's what I'm doing because I've got 5 minutes and that level of energy. So there you go. Because sometimes it's just about looking at it, not having any idea where to start, getting overwhelmed and shutting down. And that maybe helps sidestep that. Use apps that break down goals into tasks. I have a great one that I'm going to recommend that's free because sometimes we want to do something and we know to break break goals into tasks, but I don't know where to even start with that. Um, there are things that can help you because stuck often means ambiguity, right? There's something about it that isn't clear. And so without it being clear, it can be difficult to know what action comes next. This one doesn't work as well for me. I've tried it, but for some people, they say couple things. Bribery, sometimes works better, right? If there's something that you want to do, then, you couple it or bribe yourself. If I do X, I get Y. That works for me in some ways, but not as much with planning, things. Play pretend. I love this one. You have to save your village because you are the chosen one. And to do this, the evil giants require you to successfully complete a quest. And that quest is to return your doctor's phone call. you don't have to tell anybody you're doing that, but it's you can make it a little bit fun. I mean, if there's any like role playing geeks in the out there with me. All right, good. I see you. Me too. That totally appealed to me in kind of a, oh, that's ridiculous, but also really fun way. Do some, but not all. Again, this you saw this in cleaning, right? Do 5 minutes. It's better than 0 minutes. So don't, it's not all or nothing. We definitely have an all or nothing and all is better, culture, and it can take a little bit of effort and self-talk, but you all have permission to not do things the way that we're told to do them. I've mentioned this before. Try body doubling in person, on the phone, online. You just have somebody, they don't even need to be doing the same thing that you're doing. They can be doing something else, but sometimes just having like, okay, I'm gonna meet up with you on the phone, or I'm gonna meet up with you online, or come over and have a cup of tea, and we're both gonna do these 10 tasks that we've been avoiding. It can make it a lot easier. I also like this one, don't do them, right? Whose goals are they? Are they your goals? Are they society's goals? Are they your family's goals? If you don't want to work towards something, it is in the best of times with no injury, no neuro, working towards something that we don't actually want and don't feel the impact of is really difficult. There's a lot of shoulds in the world. So you really want to think about, is this my goal? And if it's not, what's my motivation for even wanting to work towards it? Visualizing. So a lot of the stuff that planning talks about, right? Tips are is written word. But you can use a whiteboard, a chalkboard, a corkboard, bigger paper with doodles. For some of us, seeing the bigger picture does help. For other people, words are not as don't feel as natural or as meaningful, or we struggle with them. So you can doodle. I mean, there's lots and lots of ways to make a plan. This one is kind of also built, it's baked into a lot of these, but focus on the behavior, not the goal at first. Don't spend time focusing on the difference between where you are now and where you want to be. Figure out some behaviors that will move you towards where you want to be and work on those behaviors, because sometimes imagining the gulf of where we are and where we want to be, that's what causes the overwhelm, and there's some ambiguity in it. There's some stuff that we don't know yet, and that can be the cause of an executive function shutdown. Um, so don't think, try not to think about that. Think about what you can do or what you can start to do that moves you in that direction. And then I haven't actually tried this, but enough people that I spoke to that I think are really, really smart recommend this model called Get Ready, Do Done. And it was developed initially for students, and it actually is kind of a reverse and visual planning process. I have the basics on the next slide. The two folks that developed it have a lot of material on it. It costs money to learn more about, but for some folks with neurodiversity, reversing and visualizing the planning process helps a lot. And in the get ready, do done model, this is kind of what it looks like is um number one is all the way to the right, right? What does it look like when I'm done, right? And then you move into what steps do I need to take? How long will it take? And then you move into get ready. what do I need? What materials do I need? How do I prepare the space? Right? And you sort of move in a circle, but you're moving from imagining done to what you need to get to done. And and then know when to, and to this will also let you know when to stop because you've achieved what what you figured out in step one. So, and there's some stuff in their materials that explains why these fields are red, green, and yellow, and it is based on stoplight, right? This is where you stop, this is where you go slower, this is where you do most of your actions. But I just kind of wanted to give you a brief view of the sort of visuals behind the the ready, get done, do, or did I just missay it? Get ready, do, done. If that is something that you're interested in, if that reverse planning, that reverse engineering a goal might be helpful. Memory and mood. So, some of these are going to echo those big triad, write it down, write it down, write it down. Um, Again, it doesn't have to be a list. It can be a sketchbook. It can be something like that that makes sense to you. This one I just thought was a good idea. And really, I think maybe everybody, no matter who they are, should have this, which is have a couple of master lists of information that you need in a hurry. And it's really just because it has nothing to do with neurodiversity or injury. It's when we need to remember something is exactly when we have when we can't remember it, right? We can't access it. But brain farts a lot of the time, right? That's the parlance now. Um, and that's a pretty normal function of a stressed out brain. So having lists of information that you need in a hurry, phone numbers, addresses, your address. I can't tell you how many times I've had to call up my own address, which I know. But in the heat of a moment, I'm like, I don't know where do I live? Medication list, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Have one in every room by phone, have one in your car, have one in your wallet. Just if you don't need it, great. If you do, you'll be really happy you have it. People really recommend journaling, and this is something I admit I'm terrible at. Yeah. But again, the folks in the neurodiversity community that have been journaling have also said you don't have to think about journaling the same way that what you imagine when you imagine keeping a journal. It can be two sentences. It can be 5 words. It can be there's one woman that I interact with a lot, and she likes to embroider. She embroiders a small little symbol of whatever summed up her day every day. And then she has a little piece of art at the end of a year. So you can think about keeping a journal in creative ways that are fun, useful, and, and something that you could get excited about doing. Because if you get excited about doing it, you will more likely do it. You can use recorded notes. Most of us now do have cell phones, and cell phones have the ability to record things. So you can ask, or, can I record some of this conversation just to help me remember it? Or you need to remember, make your to-do list a recorded note. Is your mood going up and down? Have you eaten? Have you eaten? That should always be your first question if your mood is going up and down. And a lot of the neurodiversity community recommends keep snacks handy. Keep snacks in your bedroom, like have a snack drawer. You don't have to just have snacks in don't attract bugs, right? Be be reasonable about it, but keep something in your pocket, right? Have something near you, and when you start to, yep, there you go, repeat things. So, this is something that we were taught as children, but we don't always do, and it is effective for all brains. If there's something that you really need to hang on to on the short term, you can't write it down and you can't record a note. Just repeat it to yourself. We forget that that's a tool that we can do. If you have to learn something new, use a couple of senses. This has a lot of anecdotal evidence around it. You know, this can be difficult for folks if distraction is something that you struggle with, but you can read something and then say, read it out loud. You can have music going on or a smell or an action, and it just helps you associate a piece of new information in two ways in your brain. And then again, using phone alarms and reminders is not cheating. So, and lastly, I will put this in I'll put this in the chat, as well, and it'll be on, in the presentation when you get it. But these are the ones that were vetted by folks. The ones that have little dollar cost a little something. So there's more information about the get ready, do done model. And I'm going to skip to the other one that costs money, which is Otter AI. So if you are in a position, whether you volunteer or you work or you have a lot of family Zoom chats, Otter AI will take notes for you, and it will also do that during calls. And that can be worth it to folks. I believe they have a free tier, but really to get a lot of use out of it, from what I understand, the paid tier is better. But for free, Doobie, which I didn't know, is an app where there's a lovely couple who actually go through all of the steps of doing all kinds of tasks. So you can on demand body double with folks. And they have everything from ironing a shirt to simple things, but it's really fun, much more fun than I thought. And so if body doubling is useful for you, and you either feel silly or don't have access to ask somebody for sort of simpler everyday tasks, you have two people on demand that you can body double with. So, Goblin Tools is, I live and die by Goblin Tools. Goblin Tools, it's a great name. Everything on it is free. I use it so much. I donate to this guy every year. They have a lot of tools on there, but one of the tools that is the most useful is that you can put a task, a goal, and then it will automatically break it down into individual tasks for you. And you can determine how detailed, how granular you want it to get by ranking it like one spice, one little chili pepper, up to all the way, like I am going to tell you every single task that needs to be done, which I think it's 3 or 4 chili peppers. And it's amazing. It makes it just so much easier to be able to visualize a task. It also has they're AI tools. So just to be completely, transparent. But it also has things where you can put in some text and you can have it translate it into, like, from business or, formal speak into more colloquial, or vice versa, if you need to sound more professional, right, or more corporate. You can just write something and it will help you formalize it. There's a ton of, it's so good. Goblin Tools even has something, and I just, yeah, I don't work for them, but I love it. You can put in what you have in your fridge and cabinets in your kitchen, and it'll suggest things that you can make with it. So I love Goblin Tools. Eisenhower matrix. So the Eisenhower matrix, a lot of folks may be familiar with it. It is a pretty gold standard productivity tool, but it's real simple. It's put things in four quadrants. This is time sensitive and super important. This is time sensitive and not super important. This is right. This is not important and non-time sensitive. Right? And so you can start to evaluate things on your to-do list about what should probably get done first and what can wait. Helper Bird. I also had never used Helper Bird, but apparently it's been free and it can help if you're doing a lot of stuff on the internet. It can read things out loud for you. It can change the contrast on a web page. It can do things that will make things just easier for you when you're online. If you're struggling with, vision issues or concentration issues, Helper Bird's really, really nice. And then Molehill Mountain. So this actually comes out of an organization primarily for folks with autism in the UK. But there's a ton of stuff on it about managing anxiety and getting better at being able to name your emotions. And you can start to, it's a tracker, but it's online as opposed to being a phone app, but it has a lot of things that are more specific for neurodiversity as opposed to a mood tracker app that is used for mental health more broadly. So, so yeah, those were the tools that I thought were not going to necessarily be as well known that come vetted by real people. As so, so yeah, I will also, after I stop sharing, I will put this list in the chat, and
You
I
just
will
went, oh, there
put
you
it in
are.
the yeah, I will put it in the chat, and it'll also be on in this presentation if you receive the PDF.
And they will. Oh my gosh. Let me
Yeah.
pause I'll stop the recording and then we can chat. This has been just so fabulous and so inspiring and comforting as well. Let me do that. Hold on, everybody. Please.